Hello there! Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the very first video of mine that you click on. My name is Faith and this is my corner of the internet where I talk about books, art, journaling and kind of anything that pops into my head. You have found your way to my hobonichi 2024 setup video. In this video I kind of want to go through why I chose an hobonichi, why I moved from bullet journaling to this planner for 2024, and how I am going to use it. So this is my first time using an hobonichi planner. I have never had this type of planner before, and I went for a hobonichi hon for 2024. I really love this cover. It's so gorgeous. I love the botanical illustration on it. It really caught my attention from the moment that I first saw it. It kind of reminds me of Beatrix Potter drawings, and I love her books, and so I was very much sold on this cover. It's just gorgeous. Now, I don't have a cover on this because this planner is going to stay pretty stationary just on my desk in my flat. I'm not gonna bring it outside with me just because I want to take care of this planner, and also when I sit down with this planner, I want it to feel like me time, and I can only really feel like that when I am sitting in my desk purposefully in order to journal. Thankfully, the hobonichi hon has almost this sort of hardback cover going for it, so I really don't feel the need to use a cover on top of it, especially if it's just staying in my flat all day. Now, I've been bullet journaling since 2018, but this year I decided to make a leap into the hobonichi. I've been watching tons of videos of people using it, talking about it, and so I decided to give it a try for myself. This seems like the perfect planner that has spreads that are already made, but also gives you enough freedom to do your own collections and your own spreads if you're coming from bullet journaling like me. So that really attracted me to this planner. Now, the reason that I decided to switch from bullet journaling to the hobonichi is honestly quite simple. Now, I've always been kind of a sketchy on and off bullet journaler in the sense that I used to make the spreads, but then sitting down and actually using my journal was a different story. I would go days without opening my bullet journal, and I would miss day after day after day, and then I would eventually come back, stay in it for a couple of days, and then fall off of it again and again and again. There was something about the bullet journal that never quite clicked with me. Throughout my bullet journal journey, I realized that there were some spreads that clicked with me way more than others. For example, I really liked just having a master task list to do for the week rather than having daily entries and having to constantly migrate task and migrate task and migrate task. But what really finally pushed me to get a planner was getting a full-time job. When I had my bullet journal, I was a full-time student. I had a lot of time to set up the yearly log and the monthly log and all of my collections and all of those things, even though I also barely used them because I was a very busy student. But then as I got a full-time job, I kind of realized that I really did not have the time or the patience to set up my spreads every single month or every single week again and again and again. While I do get that the point of setting up the spreads is so that you understand the passage of time and you are more conscious of the fact that it's another month and another week, etc., etc., it just became too much upkeep, and I work way too many hours for that kind of upkeep of my journal. And then in the process of doing this, I also realized that when I made my weekly spreads, I would have these tasks, but realistically, I would only really have 2 or 3 days to do these tasks, because I just preferred to do those tasks on the weekends when I actually had the time to get around to them. So there came a point where I basically started to question how I would use a journal and a planner, since all of these things about my bullet journal weren't really working for me. And maybe I'll make a more in-depth video about it, but basically I realized that my priorities were having the spreads already done, I just wanted to cut back on the time that it took to actually sit down with my journal. And this would also make me more likely to want to sit down with my journal, because I could actually get right into it and start writing instead of having to set up the page and then start writing. It became very important to know that I can just open my journal and immediately get into it. And then the other important thing that I kind of realized was that I was evolving in terms of what I needed from my system. When I was at uni, I had a lot of tasks-based goals, like finishing assignments and passing classes. But obviously now I'm not at uni anymore, so that's not really a thing that happens much in my spreads anymore. So I decided that maybe my system this year should be a little less about doing and more about memory keeping. So I thought that this journal would be perfect, because the hobonichi hon is actually just a hobonichi cousin, which means it has weekly spreads and daily spreads. And I've been using this for about a week now, and I am really enjoying just opening my journal, getting into it, and having the extra space to write. In the past, I used to have problems with the bullet journal because the jotting down of the quick notes just wasn't doing it for me. I am the kind of person who gets really deeply into her own head, and so I would have a lot of stuff to write, and usually I would write this in a separate journal. But obviously I would also feel the drive to kind of trying to summarize it for the bullet journal, which wasn't really working. So I am very happy that I can have this instead, where I can keep my memories and my thoughts in the same place and just kind of label them, because a thought will come into my head and it will be inspired by the situation that I am in. And so it's very important for me to be able to memory keep factually what happened, but also the thoughts and the feelings that it brought on. And I find that this journal has been perfect for me in giving me exactly both of those spaces that I needed. So today I just kind of want to do a quick video showing you kind of how I've been using this journal, and then later on I will probably go more in depth about why I use it the way that I use it, or how I came to these realizations that I needed a hobonichi instead of a bullet journal. So if you would like to see those videos and you would like to see flip throughs of my monthly and daily spreads and weekly spreads, then definitely subscribe, because those videos are coming and I am very excited to make them. Let's start by very simply opening up my hobonichi and showing you how I've been using it. Now this page I have purposefully left blank. I didn't really think I needed to decorate it, but maybe in the future I will feel like decorating. However, I did decorate this page. I decorated it kind of chaotically. I knew I had this paper with these butterfly designs that I really love, and I knew I wanted to use it. The butterfly is an animal that is very meaningful to me, so I knew that I wanted that in the first page of the journal. And I tried to stamp 2024 with a golden type of ink, stamp ink that I got, but you kind of can't see it very well, so I went around it with pen hoping to fix it a bit better, and I decided to stamp something on top of the hobonichi techo, and I did. I don't know how that looks yet, to be honest. And then I finished it off with some washi tape, and this is technically washi tape as well. I just cut it out because it was a PET set from Notebook Therapy. But I just put this sunflower and a tiny butterfly on top of it as well. And the sunflower is also a type of flower that means a lot to me. For the cover page of this journal, I wanted to have just a bunch of things that meant something important to me, and I might add some things later. Now I do have these Midori index tabs in my journal. I find them really useful because you just move them around and you don't need static tabs. I really don't like the look of a tab being on the journal, so that's why I use these Midori ones. Now this is the this year page in the hobonichi. I know that I won't be using these two calendars. They're kind of useless to me because I don't need to see last year or next year. So I think that what I'm gonna do here instead is I'm gonna put a letter to my 2025 self in here that I will read at the end of 2025. I've done that in the past and it's been really good to read back on how I was feeling and what I was doing and what I was going through and what I wanted to change in that year and see what did change and what didn't. So I look forward to doing that again. Now we're getting into the yearly kind of log page of the hobonichi cousin. What I'm gonna use these pages for is my habits. As you can see, I already have some habits here, and basically I'm gonna use this spread the same way that I used my habit tracker in my bullet journal, by just doing a dot underneath the column of the habit and the day. This is exactly how I add it in my bullet journal because I was following Ryder Carroll's method of habit tracking, so this suits me just fine, and I will be very happy to see this filled out and see the trends of my habits throughout the entire year rather than on just a monthly basis. And then down here I have basically just put some stats for the month, so how many books I read, how many films and TV shows I watched, then my YouTube and Blue Sky follower count, just to keep track really. I'm not putting major effort or saying by this month I have to have X number of subscribers or numbers of followers. I just like to see how it changes from month to month, and that's basically it. Now this is kind of an idea of a finished spread. Basically I'm going to use these monthly pages for appointments and keeping track of important calendar things, fun things that happened, just important events basically that I need to be aware of or that I want to remember on a bigger scale. I really like to see it laid out like this because it gives me a good idea at a glance how the month went, if it was a good month or a bad month, and it has important information that I also need to keep track of. In December I had this intention section, but as you will see from January 2024 onwards in these spreads, I've actually decided to change that into a focus kind of section. Basically it's gonna be what I would like to do or accomplish that month, or at least be on track to do that month. And then down here I have a couple of quotes from a friend of mine. I put them here because I was struggling a little bit this month, and so I thought that having those quotes would help me get through it. They're also nice to look back on. Then here I have the books that I was reading this month. I do read at least 4 books every month, so there will always be something to write down here. That's kind of what a finished month will basically look like. You can see here in January, even though the month isn't filled out yet, obviously because it hasn't happened yet, I did change this to be a focus section, and I do prefer it this way. I think I've left some space there for maybe a quote or two, and this is still a section for the books that I'm reading this month. Now we flip over to kind of the weekly. This isn't a full weekly page just because obviously I'm filming today. Today is Sunday and I haven't written what has yet to happen, but this is kind of how I would like a weekly spread to look like. It has summaries of my days and the important things that happened, and just seeing the spread even for just 1 week is filling me with a lot of joy, because I know that I can go back to this spread and see what happened and remember what happened. I am someone who really struggles with recalling what I do on any given day, and so seeing this spread laid out so clearly about the major things that happened and the major things that I did and how I spent my days is just bringing so much joy. It's hitting that dopamine. It's giving me the serotonin. Oh, it's just perfect. It just brings me joy. It makes me happy to see this spread. And I can't wait to keep doing this for the entire year. And it's gonna look so good at the end of the year when I have this for every single day, all 365 days of the year. I'm so excited. Basically, what I'm doing with this is just major things that happened or just how I spent the day. And then over here, I have some tasks, but I think what I'll do for next week is I will scrunch down the section so the tasks are closer to each other, and I might put a mood tracker there as well. I'm very excited. I do love how I am using this journal. I have planned this in advance, like I took pictures of the hobonichi and put them in Procreate so that I could plan how I was going to use these pages. But obviously using the journal is still a different matter, is still a different experience than planning how to use it. So I'm very excited to find out the best ways to make this journal work for me through trial and error or just using it. I am not letting my perfectionism ruin this for me. I am actually looking forward to the little experiments here and there that I will carry on in this journal. And I'm actually really happy that I managed to rein in my perfectionist brain to the point that I am just happy using this journal, and I am welcoming whatever happens in it, whatever experimentation happens in it, whatever mistakes happen in it. It doesn't matter because it's mine. And it's special. Now, before getting into the daily pages, the hobonichi cousin has this turning the page to a new year. It's basically just a couple of blank pages that you can use however you want. And I decided to use them to make a 2023 recap and a 2024 intentions page. I don't want to use the word goals, so I use intentions because it really sets the mood. I don't want to just achieve a goal. I want to be in the mindset to do the steps that then will maybe bring that goal about. I really changed the way that I think about goals over the past couple of years, and I've decided to focus less on the destination and more on the journey. So I focus less on the results of achieving the goal and more on the journey and what the journey brings and what growth it brings while working towards something. I'm really happy with how this spread turned out. It's exactly my aesthetic. It brings me joy to look at it. Sorry for the slight camera reposition there. My battery died, so I had to change it halfway through, but we're back on track. And then after this, it's my daily pages. So I'm gonna flip to a page just to show you how I am using these pages as well. This page doesn't really have much going for it in terms of decoration, but I think it's a really good example of how I am using these pages and how I intend to keep using these pages. I really like the way that the hobonichi kind of divides the page in two, and so I decided to take advantage of that structure. On the left, I will have the tasks for the day or things that are important for me to do on the day. And then on the right, I will write what actually happened on the day, as well as my thoughts, my feelings or ideas that were brought on by something that happened on the day. This has been really fantastic for me. It really helps me to see my tasks laid out on one side very clearly, and then being able to just write and journal about the day for the rest of the page. I've heard that the size of the hobonichi cousin can be a bit intimidating when it comes to journaling on the page because there's a lot of empty space, but I really am not intimidated by it. I don't feel that way at all. I am glad that I have so much space because I usually ramble and think so much and write so much that the more space, the better. But obviously I still want it to be in a compact size. I don't want to just be rambling for pages and pages and pages on end. This is the perfect mix for me of productivity on one side, journaling, but also not getting carried out into the journaling for so long that I kind of lose track of the important things of the day. Down here, I further divided the page with a line so that I could have the whole section to journal. And this has worked wonders for me. I really love using this system. I am really liking this method of having my tasks clearly laid out on one side and then just being able to journal on the other side and talk about what happened and how I felt and have all of this space available for it, and also space available for for decoration here and there, which I do enjoy doing in my journal. And so this doesn't feel like too much space and also too little space. It just feels like the perfect amount of space for what I want to do and what I want to get out of my journaling experience. We're on a different page now just because I wanted to show you something else that I started doing. I started adding these dots stickers to some of the entries to kind of label them. I will have some stickers are maybe about story ideas, other stickers are about things that I want to bring up in therapy, or things that I want to think about further and I want to get back to at some point when I'm in a better mental place for it, or just in a place where I can get some better perspective on things. I'm also very much enjoying doing this. I do write a lot, obviously, in this journal, but it's such an easy and quick way, an effective way of just quickly seeing what the entry was about and if there is something left over from the day or the month that maybe I should revisit or think about further, or just analyze and get some perspective on further. It's really interesting to me and it's really useful to me to see all of my thoughts and entries clearly labeled. I have a lot of thoughts and I have a lot of feelings, and sometimes I am not in a place where I can immediately rush to analyze those thoughts or immediately talk to someone about those feelings. By using these dots, I know that this is something that I thought about, this is something that happened or that triggered something, and I may want to go over it again, or I may want to bring it up in therapy or bring it up with a friend, get some perspective, reflect on it, and then maybe at the end of the month go through it again and see if I still feel the same, or if I have left that struggle behind and how I have left it behind. This is all going to be such useful information to me, and I can already tell that it's going to help me immensely in my growth and in my understanding of myself as a person. And so I very much look forward to keep using my journal for this reason. Now, before these weekly spreads, there are actually some monthly spreads. One for March of 2025, February of 2025, and January of 2025. Now, I can't see myself actually using these spreads. I think I will stop using this journal at the end of December 2024, and then by the time that January of 2025 rolls around, I'll hopefully be in my next hobonichi. So I'm currently thinking of ways of using these pages so that they're not just blank and they're not wasted. So I'm thinking one of the ways that I might use these pages is by laying out my strategies, strategizing how I want to go about doing things or how I want to go about achieving things, or maybe strategies to make my life easier in regards to some aspects of myself, maybe having a map about my intentions and how to go about achieving each thing. There are a lot of ways for me to use these pages and I'm still figuring them out. When I do figure out what to do with these pages, I will make a video and I will show you guys, so stay tuned for that sometime in the year. And then finally we come to the end of the hobonichi. So after this is December 31st, the hobonichi cousin has just a couple of pages that are blank that you can basically use for whatever you want. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then it starts with some hobonichi specific pages that they put at the back of here. So I've put a couple of post-its as ideas of how I could use these pages. As I said, I'm coming from the bullet journal, so I do like my collections, and I thought maybe this might be my personal spreads that I add to the hobonichi. So this has adult tasks written on it. I thought maybe I could have a spread where I keep track of all those tasks that have to be done on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, like cleaning, tidying up, paying the council tax, those kinds of things. And then this, I have friend check-ins. Basically, I am the kind of person who is really bad at keeping in touch with my friends on a regular basis, just because I get so overwhelmed by everyday life that it's really easy for me to forget to message people or to reply back to people when they do message me. And so one of my New Year's intentions is to check in with my friends more. And so I kind of wanted to make a friend check-in spread here. I just want to be more mindful of how much time has passed since the last time I messaged a specific friend. And so this would just be a spread to help me keep in touch with friends a bit more and not disappear as I sometimes tend to do. And then on this page, I've kind of divided it in two because I wasn't sure if I should give a full page to each. But basically here it says books and here it says films. And I just wanted to have a collection to keep track of how many books I read and how many films I watch, and especially which ones I do read and which ones I do watch during the year. These are just very simple collections that I've had in my bullet journal since 2018, and so it's really hard to just leave them behind. So I thought maybe I could add them to these pages at the back. That's kind of it for my hobonichi setup for 2024. I hope this video has been helpful in giving you some ideas on how to use your planner or your hobonichi or your bullet journal this year. And if not, I still hope that it was an enjoyable way to spend however many minutes of your time. If you did watch until the end, please put a notebook emoji in the comments. That's just interesting for me to know. If you did like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends because that really helps. And if you would like to see more journaling videos from me in the future, feel free to subscribe. I will definitely continue to use this hobonichi. My intention is to use it for the entire year, and I will definitely do flip throughs of my monthlies, weeklies and daily spreads. And I am also considering doing a separate reading journal, although that will probably be a digital one on my iPad rather than a physical one, just because I don't think I can keep up with 2 physical books. I really like that I only have one book for kind of everything, so to speak, because I really would not be able to keep up with multiples of these. As I said, for my brain, it's way more helpful to have everything in one book. Feel free to let me know in the comments which journals you are using this year, if you're using one book for everything or tons of tiny little ones for different purposes. And especially let me know if you are using your hobonichi or if you are using a bullet journal or coming from a bullet journal into a hobonichi. I would love to hear your thoughts and I would love to hear how you're finding it. I would love to hear all about how you're using your planners and what is working best for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you next time. Bye bye!